So we're going to start with this. So this picture here represents some of the possible pitfalls you may have in this process. So, and you'll also kind of understand how poor my writing is in this process as well. But number one here is trust. And we won't use the word faith quite yet, but this kind of very closely related, sort of similar concept. Indiana Jones here in one of his movies, and this is, I shouldn't take credit for this analogy because it's not mine. A guy named Elliot Hulse, I don't know if you know him or not, but he is actually a fitness, health kind of bodybuilder kind of guy. But he uses so perfectly. He talked about the moment in the movie that we're depicting here, where Indiana Jones had to take a step into what looked like certain death, but he had a book that explained how to get to the other side, and it's just clearly stated that you had to take the step, and he trusted it enough to take that step. So he did, and when he did, he found out there was something to step on. There was a sort of camouflaged little bridge that went across here, and he got across. So this book is going to test your faith like nothing else, because there's some concepts that are going to really get at the core of what your worst fears are. I don't want to scare you off by saying that, but it's the reality of the situation. There's your biggest fears are your fears, and you've probably been avoiding them your whole life, which gets into the second one. The second pitfall that we might have are zaps. So during one of my degrees, in sociology class, I can't remember the sociologist that used the term, but zap is a moment when there's tension and somebody says something to break the tension. So that little zap is a moment when people try to make everybody feel comfortable. Now, there's more types of zaps that you're going to have to come up with. One is sort of a literal one that we just said, where you just say something that, okay, that's frightening, so I just try to get myself mentally out of that position. I mean, you wouldn't really joke with yourself necessarily, but you'd say something that would lighten the mood. Maybe it hits a little too close to home, and so you just kind of go away from it. But more likely in this situation, you're going to say things like, this is too hard, too hard, or you're going to say, this makes no sense. And you may think that's true. All this stuff in here is incredibly simple. So it's not that it's too hard. It's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just that this is a self-preservation thing. And not your true self-preservation, but the old version of yourself. So you're trying to preserve that person that you've been for this long. And the reason you are this person that you've been for this long is because you've done this. You said these sorts of things when things got hard. So before you say these, know that everything within this book is incredibly simple. Couldn't be put any more simple. And your inability to grasp it right away is more a result of the fact that you think that nobody is worth consistent effort. And that's something that the book says as well, including yourself. So you have to trust in yourself in this process. And this is not unrelated to this. You have to trust yourself as well. And in reality, those two concepts are a lot closer than what I'm making it seem. I'm trying to make it bridge a world right now, but this is a very internal journey, and that's what the third one is going to show us here. Is don't try to look outside. So this is the ink and cross. I should have explained that first. But there's a bunch of layers of it. They have different shapes that go on top of each other. It's actually a triangle, and this is supposed to allude to a circle as well. The circle in the center, though, is how you get between the levels, and this is levels of existence, some visible, some not visible. The beauty of this one is that's in the center. So keep in mind that this process, as we go through this book, is going to be an individual journey into yourself, not outside. So Carl Jung says, those who look outside dream, those who look inside awaken. And this is really what this is going to be about, is you awakening by going into this eternal part of yourself, which is always, can go anywhere. That might be hard to kind of grasp onto, and I want to go further into this. There's actually some physics to support these sort of interiority of it that goes into affinity inside of some physics concepts, but let's leave it for now. There's enough to deal with at this point. Okay,